AM 1380, The Biz, the Wall Street Business Network.
Are you one of the 9 million Floridians living in a community managed by a property manager or HOA? If you've ever wondered what your rights are as a resident or what your role is as a volunteer board member, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Condo Coaches, your resource for when your gated community starts to feel more like you're stuck behind bars, or when that guy next door decides that a hot pink Chevy on cinder blocks really sets the tone for the neighborhood. The Condo Coaches is brought to you by lmfunding.com. Find the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. And now your host, Johnny Torres.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, watching the Condo Coaches as we celebrate our 1-year episode. That's right, episode number 52 with head coach Dean Akers. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. What a milestone.
Oh, man, it's so exciting. I was going to bring in like silly party hats and like streamers and stuff. Didn't get around to it. I even missed out. I was going to get the cupcake and everything, little something to celebrate, but nonetheless, it's been an amazing year. It's gone by incredibly fast, and I continue to be fascinated every single time that we're in here doing what we do because of just the impact that it's had.
Well, that's what we're celebrating today. I mean, when we recap this past year and you think about all the questions, you think about our community involvement around the state with our trade shows and our presentations, and the impact we've had. I mean, I was on the phone literally half of yesterday with callers, helping them out with issues they're having across the state, from boards to property owners.
Yeah, and that's the thing, the problems never end, and some of the problems are new, most of them are not. But that's why we do the show, because I think oftentimes people do feel isolated. They do feel that maybe other people can't understand what's happening in their community. And as we've found more often than not, that's not the case. There are a lot of communities going through what your community's going through, regardless of how great or how poorly your community is being run. There's always something to work on, ways to improve, and we've been able to do that. That's been a lot of fun, and we're going to kind of rehash some of that. We're also going to be tapping into our mailbox pretty heavily today and our social media profiles. And so for those of you maybe listening for the first time, again, the Condo Coaches is a radio show where we bring on experts, and we also share our own knowledge and expertise in helping you run your condominium, community, or homeowner association effectively, efficiently, and on budget. And one of the ways that we help people is, again, by you calling us, emailing us, reaching out to us through social media. And you can do that at thecondocoaches.com, which is our website, thecondocoaches.com. A great way to not only get to know the show, there's great blog posts on there. We also have every video that you can watch. We have it on our video player there. And then, of course, there's contact forms, not to mention the playbooks that are absolutely free for downloading right now.
Well, I was going to say, the evolution of this show's more than just the 50-second week. I mean, when you and I sat down and talked about this over a year ago, and we talked about the concept of bringing a essentially non-sponsored volunteer group to the condo industry, which is, there's 3+ million condos, 9 million plus people living in them. Who would have thought that we would have seen an evolution of 7 published booklets, and we didn't sit down and dream up what to...
With 2 more on the way.
Yeah, but we didn't sit down and dream those books up based on what we thought.
No.
They evolved through what we've learned, and then to have all the great visitors with us in all the different industries, and then now to have over 100 condo coaches across the state of Florida that are out there helping and will help condominium associations and homeowners. So,
and when we talk about that help, just to reiterate for those of you who may be joining us for the first time and aren't familiar with how we do things here at the Condo Coaches, pretty much all of the coaches that we've had on, the experts that we've had on in their respective fields, have offered to help at no charge the communities out there in one way or another. So we're talking pest control, we're talking roads, we're talking landscaping, painting, insurance, public adjusting, just the gamut of experts. Elections. That's right. We're coming up on end of the year. I'm sure a lot of communities are holding their elections. and all of them have offered to step forward free of charge to any community that listens to this program and help them out and make sure that they, again, get on the right path to running a great community.
Yep, it's I actually took some of the previous questions and was rereading them and looking at the books over the week before this show, and I was amazed to myself, and I go, I never dreamt 52 weeks ago that we would have an impact on the industry. I mean, when I go out to trade shows now and we do our board class, we have a class that's just a life of a board member. So it's not one of these state of Florida deals.
Yeah.
We have 75 to 100 people attending those now. And this next year, we're going to actually take it on the road as Condo Coach seminars that will be going to the markets.
Well, and so, again, it's expanded from its original vision, right?
Yeah.
All we wanted to do, originally, we weren't even going to do the radio side.
Right.
Remember, we were just going to kind of use the radio more or less, or the studio here, as just a way for us to develop this program. It was going to be online only.
Right.
Then came the opportunity to take it to the radio station.
Right.
And before even our first official episode, the light bulb went off. And you're like, you know what? We have to broadcast this across the state. We have to make it available anywhere and everywhere possible. And so now if you want to listen to the Condo Coaches, you could do so on the radio across the state of Florida. So Tampa Bay, Central Florida in the Orlando region, the Palm Beach County region, and South Florida. And then, of course, Facebook. You can catch every episode. YouTube, we have over a year's worth of episodes. And then the podcast version, which is also incredibly popular.
Well, it's crazy. Think about it. We get as many calls from out of state now.
Yeah.
People going, when are you going to come to New York State? When are you going to come out to Nevada? When are you going to come to California?
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And people are downloading our booklets every single day. These emails get spread like wildfire. The booklets have been an enormous success. And the best part is that, again, it's a win-win for everybody involved. And so, again, today's show is going to be about giving back, as we always do, but, also reminiscing a little bit on some of the adventures that you've had and meeting these communities around the state of Florida. We are, of course, hoping that we are helping other communities and in cities across the country. Because we know you're listening to the podcast or to our Facebook show or to our radio show. And so we thank you also for the support that you've given this program for the past year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had an incident this week that just kind of salted it for me. I had a individual call me, reached out on our site, called me, heard the podcast in California.
Wow.
Was coming to Florida to help his uncle with an estate issue who was sick and then subsequently passed away.
Okay.
And has reached back out and using us through the show for information to help him with that condo. But when he heard us in California and he knew he was going to be dealing with his uncle's condo here, he has morphed all the way from here to and we've helped him. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, and again, shout out to the West Coast because they've also been incredibly supportive of this show. We get tons of listeners from California, as you just said. Seattle, Washington is actually, outside of Florida, is the largest audience for this program, Seattle, Washington. And, of course, we've heard as far as Portland, Oregon, even Maine. So maybe both Portlands. And that's been just incredibly flattering and inspiring for us to continue to do this program. We're going to kick off the show, as we promised, with opening our mailbox. And so we're going to try to get through as many of these questions as possible. One of these is one you've already talked to. We're talking to John Bruns. And so he says he loves the podcast on iTunes. And asking if he should attend the annual meeting. He's nearing the end of the purchasing process of a condo. They have the loan approval. They're expected to close in late November. The annual meeting is in a few days, and they'd like to attend as guests. And what are our thoughts on that?
Yeah, I reached out to him. I said, absolutely, I would attend. Generally, they don't close annual meetings. Again, if they do, they do. But I'm going to say it, and I shared with you before the show.
Yep.
Trust, transparency, and communication. We probably ought to put that on our website.
Yeah.
I mean, those three things are a common thing. So I would expect the board or the association he's involved with, that they would welcome him with open arms as a new potential resident to join the annual meeting. He won't be able to vote, but he'll be able to go in and experience the interactions.
No, but this is a point of pain for the boards as well, is the fact that nobody comes to these board meetings.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they want it, believe it or not, they want you there. Even if at times maybe things get a little tense or even hostile, they want people there. They want people involved. They want to hear from you because if not, it does become kind of a bureaucracy or a hierarchy. When in reality, it's probably the closest thing to a democracy, I guess, that we do have. Because they do want everybody's input. Everybody that's involved has a vote, right? Everybody who has stake in the community has a vote, and oftentimes I think people, because of some of the tension there, they get discouraged and they don't go to the meetings. But the board members want as many people there as possible.
They do. The good ones do.
Sure.
And I mean, one of our things on one of our shows was somebody emailed us where the board purposely set remember that they set the meeting up with the board facing
with their backs
to them. So do you think they were engaging?
No. Right. Yeah. So point being there is don't turn your back to your residents.
Yeah, the input and having people's input from the board is good. We did the board classes, and one of the big ones is that we've stressed is when you open a meeting, open the meeting with something that says what you enjoy about the association. We shared that tip.
Yep.
And the other one is, which is my favorite deal in business, and been using it for 20 years. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions.
Yeah.
Nobody's entitled to their own facts. So we
need to get that on a T-shirt.
Oh, let me tell you what. If everybody, if the leaders of these meetings would facilitate, and when they go off track to opinions, just what are the facts?
Right.
And it's the transparency, trust, and communication. But
that's our second T-shirt.
Yeah, we probably ought to donate those T-shirts.
Yeah. All right. It's the Condo Coaches radio show. Again, check us out at thecondocoaches.com to learn more. It's our 1-year anniversary. We're celebrating segment 2 of this great show coming up right after this.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Celebrating our 1-year anniversary. That's right, 52 shows of the Condo Coaches. And right beside me, as always, is head coach Dean Akers. We're tapping into our mailbox today and reminiscing a little bit and bringing back up some of the more common issues and questions that we've heard over the past year. And thank you again to everybody who's been incredibly supportive of this program and has come out to the expos. We can't thank you enough for making this whole project a success because, again, a year ago, it didn't exist. It was an idea on paper that came about between a meeting between you and I and Cords Owen, and it's just been a lot of fun. And so thank you again, Dean, for taking a chance on this project. I think everybody has really enjoyed being a part of it.
Well, it's been a unique journey, and I'd be remiss in not saying that we've had an underwriter, LM Funding, who is not a sponsor. We don't promote it or whatever. But because of LM Funding, we've been able to have public service announcements. all year long, we've been promoting the Community Association Institute,
That's
which
right.
is across the United States. It's an organization where boards can be involved and learn. And we've done diabetes, our military, and,
And it really complements CAI.
Yeah.
Really complements what we do here. Basically, it's almost an extension, or we are almost an extension of what they do. And I think not enough people who even listen to this program are familiar that the Community Associations Institute even exists, and they are incredibly valuable in terms of the resources that they have for board members and residents.
yeah, it's a great organization.
Yeah, so definitely check them out. Look up Community Associations Institute online. Tapping back into our mailbox, Cheryl is asking for snail mail copies of our playbook, and so those are still available. Of course, we're getting up there in numbers in terms of how many books we have. So oftentimes we will deliver those by hand. She happens to be reaching out to us from Y Mama, so that's here in the Tampa Bay region.
One of our condo coaches has her contact information, and I believe he has already reached out to her and has set up a delivery.
Beautiful. And so we have actually a second question from John. He goes, he travels frequently, sometimes for up to 4 months at a time. Should he be a board member if he's only located at his condo about 7 months out of the year? He says he can do his duties remotely and that he'd be able to FaceTime or Skype in for video during HOA meetings.
Absolutely. That's a that's a permittable way to have a board member. They can go on cell phone and or Skype. Or,
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's 2017.
Yeah.
And this guy, I believe, would, if he's willing to volunteer, he must have a skill set that he understands would be valuable to the organization.
Yeah. I mean, I would say for sure be a board member.
Yeah.
And if you have to travel, all you have to do is call in. It makes you a legal, part of the quorum.
All right, so we move on from the Central Florida area. Bill writes us, is a non-residential condo association required to have an annual election? Now, again, this is kind of an odd question for us because this is a very kind of Orlando thing. But in Orlando, they have vacation properties, a lot of vacation properties. And so I guess they're considered non-residential. He goes, and our board members limited to 1 or 2 year terms based on the bylaws. That, of course, is not a thing yet, right? They or is that now in effect with the new
timeshares is a whole different deal. I think he may be talking about business condominiums.
Okay,
And if he is, that's a whole different thing also.
right?
It's not under 718. As a coach, I mean,
That's what he asked. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. Yeah, business condominiums, you'll see those where they sell out spaces, and it's like a condominium with common areas.
Corporate condos.
Yeah, that's not a living 718 condominium.
Okay. And then again, this may not apply to him because of the structure of this particular community, but he asks, our board members limited to 1 or 2 year terms based on the bylaws. He says he thinks he found where Governor Scott removed the limitation in SB 440. Chapter 214-14. I don't know, term limits is still fairly a new thing. I don't think it was ever in place to begin with.
He's still talking about commercial condominium type things, like office condominiums.
Yep.
We're not familiar with that at all. There may be legislation about term limits there. He needs to contact an attorney in that space. As you mentioned, Governor Scott just signed in term limits in July for condominium associations, but term limits are they're not short.
Yeah, right. And again, we've kind of decided that that's not really a positive, especially when it comes to the associations, because it's hard enough to get people to run for these positions in the first place.
Well, the term limits also don't apply if you have nobody running either.
Yeah.
So you have it's kind of a crazy law. We'll see how that plays out in the next number of years. I suspect there was some intent of it because you had some stuff in Southeast Florida where people were just locked and loaded and would block people out. But by and large, out of almost 50,000 associations, most of them are run really well.
Yeah, right. These are still the anomalies.
Right.
While they're the ones that make the news,
Right.
that's not typically the case in most communities.
Right.
Because even where you've found time and time again where people thought money was being stolen or misused, that often wasn't the case. It was just a misunderstanding of the financials for that particular community.
Yeah, we get accusations all the time, and again, there's a budget that at their annual meeting they should all get their budgets. You know, that's why another reason to attend. You can get your budget. You're allowed to get your financials if it's over. I think it's 400,000. You get audited unless the group votes against it. But we don't find. I have yet on anybody that sent me any of their financial documents found any kind of shenanigans or craziness.
Good. Yeah, that's good. All right, moving on. We're trying to get to as many of these questions as possible. Stephen Strum writes to us. He goes, for the past 2 years, we've had a condo board with 5 members. 3 of the board members have aligned together to be the controlling interests of the board. These 3 do not communicate or show transparency to other residents or the other 2 board members. Our building is being held hostage to these 3 members. We cannot get them off the board, so the power of the board votes change to a fair forum. Because proxy votes are numerous in our building with 300 units, of which 100 are investors who do not live in the building. We can't get the unit owners on board who want to be the voice or work for the good of the building, as once they are on the board, their votes are outnumbered due to the 3 controlling the board. And again, these kind of situations are the ones that make for term limits. A group of residents want to hire and pay for legal advice to be a watchdog over the board. Any help or advice would be appreciated.
Well, if the board's doing their fiduciary responsibilities, there is no oversight on the board. And then you have the right to vote them out. And if there's that many residents there, somebody needs to run against them.
And getting a little political here, I mean, really what it might be is that one by one, maybe you challenge each of those board members one by one, on election day. And start to break up that stronghold that they have. Or if you think you have the numbers, line 3 other people up or 5 people up, however many of those roles you want to take over, and just make sure that you have the support to get them out of those roles.
Yeah, and it's not easy because people are apathetic. If you have a bunch of investors, a lot of times investors, if you have 100 investors in that 300 unit, that's unusual. But to have that many different investors, if they are, reach out to them and see what their positions are.
Well, in South Florida, much like in Central Florida as well, has seen a huge influx of investors, especially because of the political things happening down in Central Florida. And then also, the more global economy we become, the more of these investors are coming into the market, and Florida is just ripe for it because it's easy. There's a lot of demand for rentals. There's a high volume of tourism, and so there's a lot that can be done with these properties. There, really, it's going to be about strength in numbers, and somebody's got to step forward and challenge these people come election time.
But that holds true in our national elections, our local elections, and your condo elections.
Yeah.
If A, nobody runs, those 3 are going to be there, and B, if who runs doesn't build a constituency to vote for them, they're going to lose.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Rosemary writes to us. She goes, Dear Condo Coaches, hope you can give me some advice on how to proceed with a couple different issues related to smoking in our condominium complex. Residents are hanging out, smoking in the common area by the elevator, where the non-smokers have to walk through to get to the elevator. Smoking residents leave their condo to go to the common area by the elevator, smoke their cigarettes, then go back into their condo. Residents smoking on their balcony, where the other non-smoking residents, 1 or 2 floors above them, cannot use their balcony because of the smell and can't open their sliding glass doors because the smell creeps into the living room. Is there anything that can be done on this? And thank you for your help with this issue.
I think we had that question. One of our attorneys answered that in the common areas, they could have no smoking areas, but they're not required to do the same things that public spaces are, and then the rights of use of their own condominiums and their areas. I don't think there's any restrictions. Our attorney shared.
But they could implement smoking and non-smoking areas.
Yeah,
and policies.
Common areas.
I would think, within the common areas. But I would think the hallways or the area around an elevator is absolutely one of those areas where you don't want people smoking.
Well, yes. And then I just had an instance with somebody that was living in a condominium that was really could not stand smoking. and the other condominium owner either next door or downstairs smoked, and for whatever reason, I don't know how it gets through the walls or whatever, they finally had to move out.
Wow. Well, and again, sometimes it may be just communicating with that neighbor. I don't think there's much they can do about the balcony issue, but, maybe you implement some smoking zones there. Yeah. So, coming up, can a squirrel be a pet, a sympathy pet, a therapy pet? Let's talk about that on the Condo Coaches.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
Thanks, Julie. And coming up next, is there rain in your weekend forecast? We'll find...
Hey.
Hi.
It's been a while. Great place and nice neighborhood. You must have a strong community association board.
Thanks. I guess so, but I don't pay any attention to that stuff.
Seriously? How do you know for sure the board and community manager are making the right decisions to protect your investment?
I don't, but what am I supposed to do?
You can get involved and connect with CAI.
CA what?
CAI, Community Associations Institute. They're a nonprofit group that has helped us build a great community. They have free resources for your association board, professional training for community managers, and helpful information for homeowners.
Thanks. I'll definitely do that.
Is the time and investment you have made in your home and community protected? Be a smart homeowner and visit CAI at responsiblecommunities.com.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
It's our 1-year anniversary here at the Condo Coaches. Head coach Dean Akers and I opening up the mailbox, trying to clean house here as we celebrate episode 52. We are just drilling through these questions that we've been getting. We've had a backlog because we were talking to our producer just before the show how when we started the show a year ago, I mean, we were excited if we got one email or one phone call. Now we can't keep up. Now we're getting dozens of phone calls a day. We're getting dozens of emails a day. And it's just been a huge blessing. And we know that these problems carry over to other communities. And that's why we decide to share them here on the show, because we know that if we answer them for one, we're answering it for many. And so today we're cleaning out the mailbox. But before that, there's a story going viral that I'd be remiss not to mention. And there's a man, and of course it's right here in Florida, who is having an issue with his homeowner association because it's been discovered that he has a pet squirrel. And so we've talked about this issue time and time again, typically with your more standard pets, birds, cats, dogs, but never a squirrel. And this story is going viral, and it's going viral quickly. Apparently, this squirrel was found, I guess, after one of the storms we had recently, and wasn't going to survive without some assistance. This couple decided to take in the squirrel and nurture it back to health, and it adapted to its new owners, its new household. And they, in turn, grew fond of the squirrel. And apparently the gentleman has had some traumatic experiences in his life and has now decided to keep this pet as a therapy pet, and is I guess gotten some of the proper paperwork to declare it as a therapy pet. But nonetheless, the association is saying that it is not an acceptable pet to live within the community. Dean, I know the answer, but I'll let you take it.
We've had our attorneys on with this, and I think it was Candace or one of our attorneys shared one time that when they get it, it's considered an emotional support animal.
Right.
That's the terminology.
Okay.
And when you get a documented emotional support animal, it's a federal law. So
yeah.
Nobody's going to win that.
It's an ADA thing, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And so what's going to happen is that pet or that squirrel, by the way, my brother had a squirrel. So
Really?
Oh yeah, he had a squirrel. And the squirrels are just like cats when they become friendly. They just walk around. They're pretty peaceful. They don't attack or whatever. But the condominium association is not going to win that argument.
They're not having it either. So it's going to be a bit of a battle. You feel bad because in the stories I've seen, they show the pictures of them rehabbing the squirrel right after the storm, and it's a cute little thing, and they're obviously very enamored with this pet, and I don't see a problem with it. I would rather much have that than, again, someone in one of the comment sections that I read, she goes, I'm a Florida girl. She goes, I've had all kinds of pets, pet raccoons and squirrels, and she goes, I've even had an indoor horse. And so you got to imagine that it could always be worse, right?
Well, but again, if it's an emotional support animal, it could be an emotional support animal. Pigs.
Yeah.
It could be an alligator.
Right.
At the end of the day, and nowadays to get an emotional support animal, to constitute an emotional support animal, according to our attorneys that have been on, it's a process you go through, but it's not a difficult process.
Yeah. All right. Well, so again, there's no end to the insanity here in Florida, and certainly when it comes to associations. There was one, and we won't get too deep into it, but a friend of mine, she works for a big developer here in the Tampa Bay region, and if you Google search, you'll find the story. But there was a woman who was frequenting the community pool in a mermaid costume, and for some reason, this woman decided to take it upon herself to declare herself a mermaid, and she would show up to the pool in her mermaid costume, and it really rattled people. It really bothered people that she was at the pool in this mermaid costume day in and day out. And it went a little viral. It got out there, and it's still kind of an ongoing joke in the community. But it just goes to show you, it's never a dull moment in Florida.
Well, she might have been her husband's emotional support. A mermaid, I don't know.
Oh, that's a good one.
I can't imagine. We've had some interesting stuff. We had the one woman that her board was jealous of her because she was a Playboy bunny.
That's right.
There's just this stuff is really interesting.
I can't say that would bother me.
Well, we would leave that one. Leave that one alone. I think we're better off with we're really better off with the squirrel.
That's right.
Staying with the squirrel.
Let's stick with the squirrel. That's right. All right. So digging back into our inbox, Heather writes to us from Broward County. She says we're having issues with the president not following protocol and is on a spending spree. We're in an HOA. She goes, the other board members are out of pocket. I guess just disconnected. It's been going on for years. I can't get an attorney to assist as they say that he's protected by the insurance policy. She has lots of documented proof. She'd like to lien his property for financial damage of draining the accounts. The new elections come up in December, and she doesn't want to take over deficiencies without any recourse. She gives examples. $18,000 to re-marsite a pool. Permits not being pulled for some work, vandalizing gutter systems and then charging them to unit owners to put new ones in, no bids on a $25,000 tree trim job, and then the city fined the HOA due to the cutting of the trees. And they've had no meetings or minutes for the whole year of 2017, on and on. Help and thank you.
I mean,
the elections are your friend in this situation.
The elections are your friend. The expenditures are, they have, they're nobody. I can't imagine a board president making expenditures that are totally outside the realm of normal.
Yeah.
Remarsiting the pool for $18,000. I'm getting my pool remarsited. If she'll send me that contractor, I'll pay him right now. And I'm a residential pool. That's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks everybody's stealing from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is it goes back to trust, transparency, and if the board ought to be providing the budget. The tree trimming could be under a contract that's already with the landscapers.
Yep.
There's just a number of things we don't know there. If she wants to reach out to us, we'll be happy to meet with her or her board and try to discover it. But most of the times what we find is that it's pretty legit.
Well, and again, like you said, we'll do a free financial assessment there. I think the key is making sure that you get somebody new in office and then do that financial assessment immediately. As soon as you get into office and get your bearings, make sure that you get those financial documents.
Right.
Send them over to us, and we'll kind of figure out and let you know what kind of a situation you're in.
Yeah, and we had another call the other day. I had another call the other day. Again, this transparency thing. This board is not giving this person documents that are the declarations and stuff.
Yeah.
They said, call our attorney. You have to call our attorney. And so now this person's all freaked out, or go downtown and get the recorded copies. Look, send the person a PDF. I'm actually going to make an offer, Johnny. Anybody that has printed copies of their documents that are not PDF, but they just don't know how,
or digital for those who may not be familiar with a PDF, right?
If they will mail the Condo Coaches, and maybe we could put an address up on site or something.
Okay.
I will have those documents digitized and send them a thumb drive of the digitized, and for absolutely free.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, because I remember working for a home builder. I mean, we used to have these books of documents that were so large, they were probably about 6 inches thick. It was ridiculous. And then you're like, oh, congratulations, new homeowner. Now here's this massive book that you're probably never going to read.
Right.
And you're probably just going to shove into a corner in the garage and until you absolutely need it.
Well, and then the board gets called by a new owner like this particular case and says, I want a copy of the declarations. And this board is a plus 55 community. And they go, well, we don't have it. So get a PDF. Or as you call it, digital. And then this particular individual said, well, I said, do you have email? And he goes, I have email, but I don't really use it that much. And I go, why don't you go to the library? And when they email it to you, you can put it up on one of their screens in the library and read all the documents.
That's right. Yeah. And
for
just
free.
Go through it there.
For free.
That's absolutely right. Thank you again for that question. And now we move on to Amelia. Amelia writes to us from the Palm Beach County area. She says, our condo went to arbitration in September. We still haven't gotten a decision. We were told they must have been, that they were going to be given a decision within 30 days, or that they should have been given a decision within 30 days. It's now past the 30 days. Why have they not complied with the law?
That's a pretty open-ended question. We don't know what it went to arbitration for.
Oh, right. So it depends on what they went to arbitration for?
Well, it does. It says, all she's saying is the condo went to arbitration.
Sure.
I don't know what that's referencing.
Okay. So we'll need to get a little more context from that.
If it was something that she had where they went to arbitration, I have no idea what she's talking about. We'd refer that to our attorneys.
Yeah. So we're going to tap into elections because, again, elections are coming up. November, December, it's that time of year. Sheila writes us, she goes, my HOA board has an election coming up. They've emailed the property manager and board asking who is the secretary of the election and if any of the current board members are running. Several residents and new candidates have also emailed the same questions with no answer. What are our thoughts on that? Several months ago, they requested that they implement electronic voting, and they submitted several great companies to provide that service, and they said that the HOA attorney had advised against it. So it's a two-parter there, but on the first part, they still have to abide by the 10-day notice for elections.
Yeah, they still have to do everything. HOAs are a little different. 718, they have a little bit of more flexibility on proxies and stuff. But the second part of that question, that the attorney advised against electronic voting.
Yeah.
That's kind of like I can't even imagine a today attorney advising against electronic elections.
Yeah.
Electronic elections, if they're not, it's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when they're going to be. They're way more trackable. They're a better process. If your association's not doing them yet, you need to be on top of it.
All right. So thank you again for that question. And we did a whole episode on electronic voting.
We've done two.
Oh, that's right. We have done two.
We've done two.
And again, it's amazing. It really kind of clears up the process. It adds a layer of transparency to the whole situation.
Yeah.
And it also, I think, encourages more participation.
Totally does.
Yeah. All right. We're celebrating our 1-year anniversary here at the Condo Coaches radio show. We'd love for you to be a part of the show as always. So send us your emails or call us with your questions. Help at thecondocoaches.com is our email address. Help at thecondocoaches.com. Or you can call us 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415. Final segment of the Condo Coaches coming up right after this.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
With everything you've done to lift up those around you during your military career, we're not going to let your money concerns get you down. We're the NFCC, and we've got your back on this one. As your financial advocate, we're dedicated to improving the financial health of all members of the military community. Whether your debt issues are related to student loans or housing, or involve credit cards, our goal is to help you to defend your financial future. NFCC certified credit counselors have already made the difference for thousands of military members and their families. Let us make a difference for you and yours. Schedule a confidential financial review with an objective nonprofit NFCC financial counselor. Call us today at 877-404-6322. That's 877-404-6322. Or visit us at nfcc.org/military. You owe it to yourself. Get relief now.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Joining me as always, head coach Dean Akers, as we celebrate our 52nd episode. That's right, 1 year's worth of episodes. We didn't miss a single week. I'm so excited about that. That's definitely something worth patting ourselves on the back for, because despite the hurricanes and just everyday life, we managed to do a show every single week.
Yep.
And we've been really excited, and it's a record we got to try to keep up.
Well, I'm really proud of our first year, and I'm really proud of all the guests we've had on. I mean, I've learned a lot from the insurance side to our recent guests on mosquitoes. I mean,
oh my gosh,
the point that is the number one killer in the world.
It is.
And most pest control companies are dealing with the rats and the roaches and all the ants, but not mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And mosquitoes are being able to be treated organically now, legitimately. Just so many cool relationships we've built with coaches that have volunteered their time.
Well, and I would say, to the point about the mosquitoes, people are more worried about how green their lawn is rather than what's in their lawn.
Right.
And they don't realize that these mosquitoes are vicious, and all the diseases they carry, because it's not if they carry them, it's how many they carry.
Correct.
And being in Florida, it's a year-round problem. Now, the Dominguezes, who were our mosquito experts that were here, they're out of El Paso, Texas. It's a seasonal thing there. They're about to shut down for the next few months. Here, it's year round, man. We are susceptible to, you name it, Zika, West Nile, all that stuff year round. You don't realize it even, how susceptible we are to those diseases. They even told me, just hanging out outside of the show, that sometimes even that 24-hour bug, or maybe if you get sick, it wasn't the change in the temperature, or it wasn't, your kid that got you sick or something. It could have been a mosquito that bit you and gave you that bug for, the 24 hours or however long you were sick, because they're carrying all that stuff too, and your body's got to fight it.
Yep. And we've had some great CPA guests on, Percy Lejeune. He's been on a couple times. That guy's just he's a condominium expert on finance, and he's given our listeners great stuff here, and then helped on the outside. We've had attorneys on, we've had it's just, I look back, I went actually through YouTube, and I looked at all the episodes, all the various episodes, and I actually sat back with, and I know you probably feel the same way, with a little pride.
Yeah.
It's almost like birthing something, and I've got 5 kids, so,
But a little something about that.
Yeah. I know. I don't know about birthing them, but I know about being there. At the end of the day, though, looking back and being retrospective this past week and looking at all the episodes, I'm just so proud of the people that have volunteered. I'm so proud of the input.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of the feedback we get from the listeners. And I just want to tell you, thank you, Johnny. You just do. I mean, the show would not be anything without you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you, Facebook. I mean, look at the mediums. Who would have ever thought that 10 years ago that we would be able to be nationally through podcasts that people can listen to? We have a couple of listeners that listen to us every week in their commutes. They commute from South Florida, and they'll email me or call me, and they'll go, I listened to the show this week on my commute again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so incredibly powerful what we've created.
And the content's timeless.
Oh, yeah.
Those episodes are going to sit there even over the next year. We may have some of the same guests. We'll definitely have new guests. and some of the topics might change a little bit, but these are timeless. I mean, some of these problems with these associations have been going on as long as associations have even been around.
Well, the funny part about this is when I do that show and we talk to boards and I bring a perspective of having run the businesses I've run over my career.
Yep.
And this isn't unique to condos. This is family.
Sure.
This communication stuff we're talking about transcends just being in a condo.
And I was explaining that to Oscar from, who was our mosquito expert in the last episode, that really the show is about organizational leadership.
Absolutely.
And that applies to everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
In fact, when I leave today, I'm going to have our graphic people design a T-shirt that's going to say trust, transparency, and communication with our Condo Coach logo on it, and I'm going to wear it.
I love it. No, yeah, with your orange orange
my
blazer.
Orange blazer. I almost wore that today.
You should have. It was the 1 year episode.
I know.
Maybe we'll bring it in next episode, and we'll do the party hats and the cupcakes, and so because Roy makes a good point, which is that, and Roy, for those listening, handles our live streaming.
And thank you, Roy. I mean, you're never in the screen, but if it wouldn't be happening without Roy behind producing.
It's been a huge part.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't have the national audience that we do without the work that Roy's done over the past year, because, again, that creates our YouTube videos, and, of course, it allows us to broadcast live on Facebook every week. So thanks to Roy for being such a huge part of this team. But we were now I lost my train of thought. But anyways, so he was saying that it's actually your 53rd episode that is really the 1 year anniversary, because you've passed the 1 year mark. I guess,
semantics.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to tell
six
that.
in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
Are you married, Roy? Try to tell that to your wife 1 year later.
Yeah.
Say, this really isn't our 1 year anniversary till next week or next day. And see how that flies when you miss that 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so. That dog doesn't hunt. That's a southern type thing there.
We're answering emails. We're answering social media questions here, trying to catch up, doing a little bit of house cleaning on this 1 year episode. And I think we're hitting on some questions we've answered previously now, but I'm going to keep digging around here, but we'll tap into this one. I know we've answered this one, but again, it's a good question because it's a unique situation here. It's from Jim Cook. He writes to us from the southern part of the Tampa Bay region. He says, with these new insurance rules, if you are an individual owner and you leave your condo, you have to have someone come and check on it every 14 days and document any damage, or it will not be covered by your insurance. In addition, the no-fault rule doesn't apply anymore. If someone showers you with water and does damage, in other words, if there's water intrusion from a neighboring unit, they are responsible for paying your loss, even if it wasn't negligence. He was shocked by the new law this year, and another very good reason for carrying liability and casualty insurance. And so is that an actual thing? I mean, we may have to dig into that with our insurance expert.
We're going to have to dig into that. But I will say this. You should have homeowners or it's HO6, which is a homeowner's policy for condominiums.
Yep.
And it specifically deals with all those issues. So you should have that no matter what. We know it's from the finishes out is responsibility of the association. And when you have somebody above you that has an issue, it's their responsibility. I'm not familiar with that 14-day. We're going to have to get with our legal team on that. I don't know that you have to have somebody inspect your place every 14 days. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep digging into that.
Yeah, we'll keep.
And also, we've talked about the range of issues, right? But again, part of the reason why we do ask people to send us in your questions and all that is because we want to make sure that we're not missing anything out there. And so if you have an idea for a topic or something that we haven't covered, please let us know. Again, I'm seeing more questions about emotional support animals as to what documents are required in a no pets condo association. People are asking, of course, whether it's worthwhile to do the DNA testing on animals, poop, I guess, for lack of a better word, and that's costly, and really that's got to come down to how passionate is your community about incurring the costs for something like that. But that's one way to deal with it. But I think you and I agree that the pet stations around the community is also a great way to handle that.
Yeah, if you don't have those, you need to get one of your vendors to get those installed.
Well, and again, if you have an emotional support animal, even if your association is a no pets community, there's not much you can do there. It's an ADA, it's an American Disabilities Act compliance to have to allow them to have their support animal, right?
Yeah, and what you're finding now is that communities are kind of figuring that out, and they just got to get over fighting it.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to have emotional support animals, you might as well go ahead and have the litter, the stations, if they're out walking them. I mean, it just makes sense.
Now, Dean, we got about a minute left here, so I know that now we're kind of changing up the way we do the workshops. If there's an association or a group of associations that'd like for the Condo Coaches to come out and talk to your group, what do they need to do?
They just need to go to the help@thecondocoaches.com.
Okay,
say, look,
so email us.
Yeah,
Yep.
Email us there and just say, look, we'd like you to come down to the Delray ... or whoever they are. We'll set up to come down, and I've been doing them, and I have a full program now called The Life of a Board Member, and the reviews I'm getting on it from board members that have attended it, it's insane. They love it because it's more practical knowledge. It's not about 718 law. It's about how to be an effective leader and how to run your association with transparency, trust, and communication.
Well, and you're also bringing copies of the booklets oftentimes as well for everybody who attends.
All the time.
Yeah. So if you want to download those booklets in advance, go to thecondocoaches.com/playbooks. That's our 1 year anniversary show.
50, go
High
50
five.
seconds. We can't.
No, bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Condo Coaches, brought to you by lmfunding.com. Find us online at thecondocoaches.com and join us this same time next week as we help you navigate life in your managed community.